Welcome to The Walkthrough with 5-Star Preps, the ultimate weekly live show that dives deep into the heart of high school football right here in East Tennessee. Powered by Triple F Training. Train like a pro. Each week, Jesse Smithey and the 5-Star Prep team takes you beyond the gridiron and into the stories that define Fall Friday nights in the hills of the Great Smoky Mountains. From the thrilling touchdowns to the hard-hitting tackles and the unsung heroes who make every game unforgettable, we've got it all covered. Join Jesse Smithey as he breaks down this week's biggest games, highlights the standout performances, and gives you the most comprehensive high school football coverage in East Tennessee. Now, catch us live on The Walkthrough, presented by Triple F Training.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the Walkthrough Week 5. I'm Paige Dower alongside Jesse Smithey. We have such great content coming up this show, like we do every week. But this time we have a special guest this week who we'll hear from later in the show, Will Presley from Oak Ridge. You had a chance to talk to.
Yeah, really nice wide receiver, junior, one of the standout wide receivers in East Tennessee. And we're going to get into a lot of things with Will. Life's changing for him a little bit. Colleges starting to call him and offer him scholarships, and some Power 4 schools showing some interest as well. So stay tuned for the interview with Will Presley. We got highlights and a ton of stuff to get to tonight.
Absolutely. All of this not possible without Triple F, who we are in their facility again this week. Having another great week here at Triple F.
Always love coming to this place. It smells good in here too.
Like,
you would think a gym with a lot of sweaty boys and stuff might stink a little bit, but it smells.
For the fans,
it smells pleasant coming in here. So, but they do a fantastic job of not only training young kids, but loving on them, guiding them. It's Bible study night. All the pizzas just got delivered for all the kids here that
none
come.
For you.
Yeah, none for me. I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight, but it's just a great environment. I know my son likes to come out and hang out in the basketball court while we're doing the show. So. Love Triple F. If you're a parent out there who's got a kid, an athlete, regardless of age, bring them out here, give it a trial run. I guarantee you're going to love it.
Absolutely. I want to get into your new top 12, which is one of my favorite segments that we do here, because sometimes there's just a lot of shakeup, or sometimes you're just ahead of the curve and you know what's going on before any of us do. Few shakeups here, but the standard and the staple of it has been Maryville at number 1, who is continuing an incredibly strong start to the season.
We finally saw somebody score on Maryville, though, and West got that privilege in the second half, midway through the third quarter. So 14 consecutive scoreless quarters to start the year for that Maryville defense. Maryville won that game handily, 35-14. Ran the ball extremely well against the West defense, and of course the Maryville defense did its thing. But I don't know, you get to see West quite a bit. Did you like what you saw out of West in the second half? I mean, they started to generate some drives a little bit.
Yeah, I think the most telling part about the West team was that in that second half, even talking to Lamar Brown after the game, it was very much testing their character. Like, you have to go out and want this. You saw that in the first couple of drives where the offense and defense really set the tone, but then Maryville was just way too strong for them. You had Price Davis and that really, big offensive line that he was able to, get through and just penetrate all night long. So West, as much as they wanted to have an answer, they really just didn't that entire game. And I think after this game, it really will be a test to their character, what their season will look like. But having a Maryville team come in like that, who you beat at their home a year ago, all they wanted was what they got on Friday night. Yeah,
it was 21-0 in a hurry in that game. And so Maryville stays number 1. West was one of 3 top 5 teams from a week ago that all lost in week 4. So it's been some big shakeups in the top 12.
Yeah, we'll look at a couple of the other ones. Alcoa still at 2-1. But then we have Sevier County, who's now 4-0. A week ago in your top 12, they were number 6.
Yeah, just really impressive every single week. Cooper Newman, their quarterback, sophomore, he's still completing 81% of his passes this year, and their defense is equally as good as their offense. So while a lot of people are talking about West and Powell for 5A contenders, Sevier County just keeps inching up closer and inching up higher into that conversation. And I really like what they have going on right now.
How about their running back in Tegan?
Tegan Avera, just continues to average over 100 yards per game and not just complement. It's like 1A, 1B, depending on the week. It could be Tegan Avera's night one night at Sevier County, or it could be Cooper Newman's night throwing the football. So they got big linemen, they got an aggressive defense, they got a strong kicking game. And so it's just a complete package out there at Sevier County right now.
Yeah, and I think that's why each week we kind of continue to see them move up in your latest power rankings. Next we have Catholic at 4, Anderson County. They're 3-0. They're now at the number 5 spot. A week ago, they were at number 7, so both them and Sevier County both moving up a few spots this week.
Had a little bit of adversity against Fulton in that game. I think they had maybe a center go down for Anderson County. When you lose your center, things can get out of hand for a little bit.
Hurry, yeah.
But they found a way to kind of stabilize and put that game away late. So I think it's still good for Anderson County to see some obstacles along the way.
Yes.
They know in the playoffs they're going to face a Greenville or an Elizabethton or somebody that's going to give them some difficulty. So when they can look back on instances like that, it's going to serve them well in the long run.
Yeah, I think so too. Then we get to our next one, Powell at 6 or 3-1, 8 a week ago, and they get their first shutout win of the season. It came against Heritage, 38-0.
Yeah, Powell just dominating right now on both sides of the football, and we all kind of knew once Connor Wheeler would come back, they would kind of be their complete selves again, and that's what we're seeing offensively and defensively for Powell. Their first shutout win since the 2022 playoffs, so they like to see that. They know they can generate offense, but they know their defense is popping. That confidence pops along with them.
Yeah, they've had a nice margin where I think their 3 wins are by 30-plus margin.
Yeah, I mean they're absolutely just shellacking the competition right now, and we'll see if they can continue that.
Yeah, for sure. We'll move down a little bit. We talked about West earlier, who's now 2-2, Greenville at 8, and then Grace Christian, who continues to be on a tear. They're now 4-0 on the season, which the last time they had to start like a 4-0 was in 2020, and they won their first 7 games.
The electricity around that game last Friday night was wild. I mean, there were bounce houses. There were people with shirts that said "The Price is Right" for Justin Price. I mean, they had people up on the hill. They had tailgating. It felt like a mini college football game, that rivalry between Grace Christian and CAK, and they got off to a hot start, 21-0 at halftime. And Weston Edmondson, the quarterback, we've talked about him before and how fantastic he's playing this year. He's now up to like 82% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns against 1 interception. I think he and the Price twins are kind of clicking with this offense.
Yeah, something's going on. And looking at the start of their season, they're now outscoring their opponents 174-73.
And when you talk to the supporters of that program, they really think they have a legitimate chance to go into the latter weeks of the regular season somewhere around 7-0, 8-0 by the time they have to face like Webb or Boyd Buchanan. And those are, of course, the big time games in that region. So again, a lot of electricity, a lot of buzz around Grace Christian. It's kind of a feel good story this season right now.
Yeah, definitely. And then to round out your top 12, we have Bearden 1-2, Gibbs at 11, and Meigs County at 3-0. I guess of those last 3, what's maybe most surprising is Bearden with some injuries and some question marks kind of falling in the rankings now.
Yeah, and we'll talk about their game coming up this week. And even though it's not a marquee game, again, just the questions around that program. When's DJ Hunter coming back? Is Jason Thompson healthy enough to play running back again? So we'll see that this Friday night.
Absolutely. Well, now I want to get to our player of the week, and hopefully all of you have voted by the time this is airing. We have 4 really strong candidates. I like the number 4 that I have written on here a lot, but we'll start with the first one I have written, and it's Nathan Klimmer from Eagleton. He's now, 21-26 in the last game, 248 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, a few carries, another score. Kind of just really doing it all with his arms and his legs.
And I got to tease Nathan Klimmer a little earlier this week, and I got to talk to him, and you're the greatest quarterback in school history. I mean, they've only had 2 seasons worth of varsity play. I mean, you're the all-time leading passer.
That part, yeah.
But I mean, he's really a great quarterback. 248 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, and also running for over 120 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So masterful performance by Nathan Klimmer. I know the coaching staff at Eagleton was excited to see that.
Absolutely. Our other player of the week candidate at the time was from Pigeon Forge, Wyatt Howard. He had 30 carries for 208 yards and 5 touchdowns.
We've heard about this kid for a few years now. Scott Meadows, the head coach down there at Pigeon Forge, said, hey, I got a good one at running back. That guy's coached a lot of good running backs, and Wyatt Howard was able to show that. 5 touchdowns, that's big-time football and a big win, and we certainly had to put him in the mix for Player of the Week.
Yeah, you can't leave him out when you're putting up 5 scores. Our other one is Gabe Dennis from Carter. He did a lot on defense. He had 3 interceptions, 80 receiving yards, and also a touchdown.
Can you 3 interceptions?
I'm do not throw to his side of the field.
I mean, he had a great night just alone receiving. Yes. I think he had 80 yards receiving and a touchdown, but throw 3 interceptions on top of that, you're definitely going into the Final 4 there for Player of the Week.
Yeah. Would you rather have 3 interceptions or 5 touchdowns?
I think 3 interceptions. I think that's
Yeah.
even more rare than a 5 spot on the touchdown board.
Yeah, it has to be. Definitely causes a bit more damage
Yeah.
too when you're doing that. And then our last one is do it all Eli Graf. When I'm reading these stats, I'm like, I'm almost running out of breath to try and get it all out. It's 3 touchdowns, 147 yards, 86 passing yards, a score. And he's also on kickoff return coverage, and he also punts.
Yeah, and he plays defense, and they've always said he's our do-it-all guy, but I mean, he lives
clearly.
it every single game,
Yeah.
and I've talked to him about his punting. He rarely even practices it. It's just something he's able to do because he's an athlete.
Yeah, and isn't he averaging like almost 40 yards?
Yeah,
on the
almost
punts?
40 yards for punt, and so it's good to be Eli Graf right now.
Yes.
Unbelievable performance in that win over Greenville, running the football and doing everything else that he does.
Yeah, well, we're going to head to our first break of the show, and you'll see highlights from that Maryville and West game that we were talking about earlier. Enjoy those highlights, stay with us, and we'll be right back.
When you shop at Elliott's, your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.
Welcome back into the walkthrough presented by Triple F. And now we're going to shift our attention to week 5, which I can't believe we're already in week 5. And similar to week 4, great games. Week 5, another set of great games.
We just need those temps to come down a little bit. Like it's 85, 86, 87.
Muggy too.
We're seeing the foliage or foliage.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm starting to get into my foliage part of my life where I actually pay attention and like it now. So I'm excited about
watching.
that. Yeah.
Well, our first game I want to draw our attention to is Maryville at Science Hill, which could be a good game, but historically it's really all one-sided for Maryville, 13-2.
Right, but Science Hill is undefeated, and there's a lot of buzz around that program this year. And typically when they're good or they have athletes, you start to hear the conversations from up there trickle down to here saying, oh, this is Science Hill's year. Then Maryville goes up and beats them in the playoffs, and it just kind of squashes that talk. So really intriguing game. I wish it was a little closer. That's a long drive from our area, but Science Hill really good. They have a running back named, I believe, Baylor Necessary is his name.
Yes, Necessary. I saw that. I was like,
a guy
that's
6'2"-ish, 6'3", 220-ish, plays a little bit of defense too. And I certainly have seen his name a lot on social media as a big-time player. So I'm sure that will be the focal point of that Maryville defense.
Yeah, the next one is Central at West. So long time it's been all kind of West. I think it's 2-2 with these head coaches now. Just where do we maybe see this one unfolding now that Carter does have this new head coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's for West, I still want to see improvements and things that they got maybe exposed in with Maryville. How do they improve upon that in this game against Central? And it's a region game. We're starting to get to the point where region games matter. Winning these games matter no matter what happened the previous week. So how does West handle that game against Maryville move forward? As for Central, they've been on the road a lot in the Chattanooga area, and I kind of like that because they have a young quarterback. It's a new head coach there at Central. Get away from home, get uncomfortable, and see how you do. They lost one, they won one down there, and they're coming off of a win. So I think they got their quarterback back, Caden Long, I believe, and so they're going to come into this game with West a little bit more confident.
Yeah, so the last 4 meetings have gone in West's favor, and in those meetings, like, the games haven't even been close.
Sure.
I don't know if we're going to get that same result this week.
Yeah, maybe not. Again, it's just all about where West is mentally, where Central is mentally. If Central can kind of muddy up the game a little bit, metaphorically, get some turnovers or what have you, control the clock, I think would be key for Central as well. Converting on third downs, that's going to be their key to win the football game.
Yeah. Our next one is Greenville at Mo West. The last time Mo West won was in 2015. I think that score was 28-3. Yeah, it's 28-3, but it's 27-20 all time for Greenville.
Didn't really know what to make of Morristown West in week 1 because they inexplicably lost to Morristown East. That was a game that they should have won. A lot of people expected them to win, and they didn't. They have a really good running back, huge offensive line. They should have won that football game, and I think they've kind of responded from that now. They've won their last couple of games. As for Greenville, how do they learn from their mistakes against Alcoa? They only had 31 yards of offense in the second half against Alcoa. Really couldn't throw the football that much. So what adjustments, what different play calls might we see out of Greenville in this game? It's a nice matchup. It's not a region matchup, but it's a nice matchup for them.
This one could get ugly quickly, or it could just be a really wonky game. It's HVA and Bearden.
Yeah, and I put that on there again for the reasons we kind of talked about right there at the tail end of the last segment. The question marks around Bearden. Is DJ Hunter, their quarterback, going to play in this game? It's a region game. Is Jason Thompson, their running back, going to play in this game? He was hurt their last time out against Anderson County. They're coming off of a bye week. Are they healthier? Is Big Junior Charles Humphrey from the Memphis area, the 6'7", 290-pound lineman, is he going to be eligible and play in this game? So it's just a game to keep an eye on, and we'll see what happens with those 3 players.
Yeah, that one's interesting for a number of reasons. Our next one is Powell and Clinton. So the last time Clinton won was in 2018, and that was a 35-0 final. But other than that, it really is kind of all Powell in this one.
I want to shout out Clinton, though, for 2 wins. I mean, their offseason was tumultuous at best. I mean, the coaching things and all the investigations and players leaving the program, whatever. And here they are having won their last 2 games, I believe, with an interim head coach. And so hats off, tip of the cap to Clinton
truly.
for being in this spot where they're a little confident going into this game with Powell. But Powell, again, is just, I think, on a different level right now with what they have going on momentum-wise. Probably the tail of the tape leans toward Powell and the amount of athletes that they have. But just I'm really impressed by what they have done, the coaching staff at Clinton, getting this program to this point at week 5.
Yeah, I mean, even in Clinton's game against West, it was still competitive for at least 2.5, 3 quarters. So they still had flashes in that game against West, obviously able to carry it into the next 2 games.
And I love Bryson Maddox, 6'5" wide receiver at Clinton, the area's leading receiver. I mean, that guy is a downfield threat if I've ever seen one, and some college is going to get a steal in that dude.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on to our next game. It's McMinn and Oak Ridge. Obviously, that's who we'll be talking to later, but this is kind of a heavy-hitting kind of game.
Yeah, it's just sometimes this game has gone against Oak Ridge and sometimes it's gone in its favor, and they faced off quite a bit over the last 5 or 6 years. Again, whether it's in the regular season, whether it's in the postseason, whether it's in Oak Ridge or at McMinn County, it's kind of turned into a nice little unspoken rivalry here in East Tennessee. Both teams pride themselves on being big and physical and strong, and so it's just kind of will versus will in this one, and we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, because McMinn won last year 14-3. Do you think it'll be another low-scoring game this time around?
It could. I mean, Oak Ridge last week got that win over Carnes, and we saw the offense kind of have some juice about it again, some confidence. Blaine Stansberry threw the football extremely well. Will Presley had a big game. They ran the football. Their defense pitched a shutout. So is Oak Ridge back? We'll see in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of Oak Ridge, we spoke with their wide receiver and Will Presley earlier tonight. So here's the interview between Jesse Smithey and Will Presley.
All right, here with Oak Ridge standout wide receiver Will Presley. And Will, when I say standout, what does that mean to you when you hear yourself introduced as a standout player now?
It just like it kind of feels like you're kind of the star. You kind of got to make some big plays here and there. You got to carry your team, make sure they're being led in the right way, and positive vibes.
Yeah, I look back to last year, and towards the end of the year, you became that standout player. You and Blaine Stansberry, the quarterback there, really started to kind of connect and have some big games, like going over 100 yards multiple times. And thinking back to last year, what led to that kind of finish, that strong finish to the year for you?
We really had some strong leaders. We had Brandon Hayward, and then we had Almani Rimbert, and we just kind of we all got to play together. It was a true team effort. And it really just helped me become the player I am now. I had those strong players to practice with all week, and it kept me going.
So that kind of put you on our radar. I mean, we knew your name and we knew you had some talent, but you could really start to see it play out on the field as your sophomore year kind of came to an end. When you looked into the offseason, what did you want to get better at? How did you want to improve going into your upperclassman year?
I really had to figure out how to be a leader, how to take control of this team and lead us in the right direction like Brandon Hayward did last year for us. And, it took a lot. It took a lot of growth, but we're coming in this year and, we're still working on it. But we're getting the job done.
So week 1, you're going off up in Jefferson County, and I'm getting text messages about Will Presley and who's this kid. And so I think you finally opened some eyes in week 1, but I know that game didn't necessarily go how you all wanted it to go. What's been the focus over the last few weeks for Oak Ridge to continue to produce statistically, but also get those wins?
We've just we've came out there we've been having a fight in practice. It's been a lot of practice. Mental reps is really good for us right now. We've had a lot of little mistakes, but it's nothing that we can't fix.
Blaine Stansberry, one of your really good friends, if not your best friend. How does that transition into the football field, and you guys have a special chemistry there?
I've known him for about 9 years now. We grew up playing at Grace in the little Knoxville League.
Yeah.
And then we made our way up through FBA, and then we went to Norris together, and we just kept building our connection together. And when I left Norris, we came to Oak Ridge, and we just kept going. We never stopped. So on and off the field, we're best friends. We've got a great connection. I mean, we plan to keep it going for at least one more year.
So are those things true that they say about, guys who are friends that played football a long time, that maybe it's just a simple look, or you guys can tell what each other is thinking at the time? Do y'all have moments like that?
Last year, coach would call a post or something, and, everybody knew if I was running a post, the ball was coming to me no matter what. So me and Blaine would just look at each other and smile right before the play or something, because we knew it was a touchdown. We were confident in it by the end of the year last year. And coming into this year, we've been able to make extra plays. Like, it's not just a post anymore. I can make a touchdown out of the hitch or something. And, we just kept building.
Last thing, we'll let you get out of here. Big game coming up against McMinn County here in Week 5. It's a program that you guys have seen quite a bit, whether it's a regular season matchup or postseason. What are we expecting this time out of McMinn County, Oak Ridge?
Yes, sir. That's kind of we're looking at a big physical game. Who's going to be the strongest team, really? I mean, McMinn's always been a tough game for us, mainly just because of the physicality of it. But, we're coming into it with a strong mental mindset. So we're going to make it work, and we plan to come out with a win.
All right, well, Will, thanks for joining us here on the walkthrough tonight. Stick with us when we come back. We got our Waffle House win-loss segment and much, much more right here on the walkthrough.
When you shop at Elliott's, your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.
Welcome back into the walkthrough paged hour. Jesse Smithey here for our Waffle House win-loss projection. So we talked last week that you were 8-8 on the season, but you swept last week. You were perfect 5-0. Yeah, I went back, I checked to look at the score, so I was like, all right, Jesse's turning this thing around.
So Week 4 and Week 5 this year, I'm not going to give myself too much credit because it's not a marquee lineup of games. It's nothing to get super excited about. So there were some easies in there last week, some easies in here this week, but still a couple difficult games to pick on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, still to go 5-0, I mean, that's still tough to do.
All right.
And you did that. So I don't want to hype you up too much. We'll look at what we've got going on this week. It's Carter and Halls. So Halls owns it 35-25 all time. Not really the case recently, but where do we maybe see this matchup going?
I'm going to take Halls in this game, but really been impressed with what Todd Helton has done in his first year coaching at Carter, and they've got a couple wins in a row now. They had a huge win last week, numbers galore. We talked about Gabe Dennis as one of our Player of the Week nominees, but they had 3 or 4 other guys that could have been up for that Player of the Week award. So they're coming in confident, really liking what they're doing offensively. Halls, though, I think gets after it defensively in this game. Talked to Dom Culp, one of their star defensive players, earlier in the week, and really like his ability. So that Halls offense coupled with this defense, I think leads them to victory in this one.
Yeah, and I think what people should know too is Halls is one of the teams on the outside looking in your top 12.
Right there on the cusp,
so yeah, they are a team to be taken seriously. Our next one is Gatlinburg, Pittman, and Fulton. Last year it was GP getting the win. I think it was 35-26. But it's a new head coach for both teams. And part of me is really hoping that Fulton finally, gets that, good staple win. Do you see maybe what he's been doing this season play into a Fulton win? Given
what I saw out of Fulton a week ago, throwing that scare into Anderson County, I'm wondering if Fulton's getting ready to kind of peak a little bit or kind of apex.
Sure.
So I'm going to take Fulton in this game.
Okay, yeah.
I'm still not sure what's going on with the running back situation with Braden Maples at Gatlinburg Pittman. He's their star player, but just looking at their stats the last couple of weeks, I have not seen his name in terms of producing running back stats, and that's a kind of a red flag for me. So I'll go Fulton in this game if you want to call it kind of a slight upset.
All right. Our next one is Harriman and Coalfield. So the last 3 meetings between these teams, Coalfield has scored at least 50 points on Harriman. Mm-hmm. Is it kind of the same thing in the 4th matchup?
I think this could be another shootout. I mean, Harriman is really impressed this year. We've talked about him a lot on this show.
Yes.
Cam Anderson, a great athlete at quarterback for Harriman. Of course, Grayson Chris was up for Player of the Week early in the season. It just seems like every week I'm getting nominees for Grayson Chris. He ran for 200 yards. He did this receiving. So Harriman has some weapons that he can utilize against Coalfield, but I think on the whole, Coalfield's the more complete team, the more veteran team, the more seasoned team. They want to get to that matchup with Oliver Springs undefeated. Coalfield does, and I think they're going to do that. So I take Coalfield in the win, but it should be some electricity, some buzz down there for this game.
Yeah, and kind of like we've talked about this entire show, it's McMinn and Oak Ridge, but McMinn kind of owning this brief rivalry. I
mean, McMinn County, very big on the line. They have some prospects there on the offensive line. What I haven't seen out of them that I'm used to seeing is that dominant run game. It's good, but it's not as dominant as it has been in the past. And they could come out and run for 300 yards Friday and make me look stupid. But just kind of reading the tea leaves there, I like Oak Ridge. I feel like they kind of getting their mojo back again their confidence back again. So give me the Wildcats in this one.
All right, love that. The other one is Mo East and Jefferson County, which is an interesting matchup and one to preview here. Jefferson County really owning this rivalry. What about this is intriguing to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a region matchup. Those are extremely important in terms of jockeying for position, putting yourself in position, not getting behind the 8 ball to where you have to make a run of winning 5 or 6 games to end the year. Jefferson County needs this win. They're kind of reeling a little bit coming off of a bad loss last week against Dobbins-Bennett. Remember how they started the year with that great win over Oak Ridge, and just things have kind of spiraled downward for Jefferson County. So this is an intriguing matchup. Morristown East has been better than people thought. So who knows how this one goes, but I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take Jefferson County, let them get back on the right track for their season.
Absolutely. Well, that was our Waffle House win-loss projections. We'll see how you do heading into Week 6 for that walkthrough. But speaking of Week 6, let's just peek a little bit into that. We have Bearden and Farragut, which could be really interesting or it could be really ugly depending on how these two teams respond here in Week 5. What are you maybe hoping to see?
Yeah, it's a week of rivalry games, right? And this is kind of headlines to show Bearden Farragut, no matter what their records are, it is must-see football. Farragut has not won a game this year. They've been competitive at times, and we've talked about some of their star players at wide receiver, but they haven't been able to just piece it together yet. But when you get into that rivalry game against Bearden, sometimes things just start clicking. And you just forget about your troubles. You just want to beat your rival, and you do what it takes to win. So I can't wait for that game next week.
Yeah, we'll see that Robbie Jacobs connection with his wide receiver over at Farragut, or his quarterback, take off. Our next one is CAK and Webb, which that one's always a good matchup too.
Yeah, fantastic. Webb finally got its first win last week, so we'll see if they can snowball that into more and get their season going.
Yep, and our next one is Clinton at Oak Ridge.
Yeah, again, another heated rivalry game. We'll see what shape Clinton is in after that game this week against Powell and see if they can compete against Oak Ridge for that win. They beat them, I think, last year, maybe in the playoffs or something like that. So Oak Ridge probably wants a little bit of revenge.
Yes, and then obviously we mentioned Hall's outside looking in. If they take care of advantage, who knows, they might be a top 12 team because they're going to be taking on Powell next week, which that can be a very interesting game.
That might be the best game on the docket just because of the momentum that Powell has, the firepower that Hall's has. Those two communities don't get along up there on Emory Road, and so it always makes for a fun night when they get together, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Paige Dower, Jesse Smithey, thank you all so much for watching our walkthrough. We will see you all after this week to go through the next week for the walkthrough. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to the walkthrough with 5 Star Preps, the ultimate weekly live show that dives deep into the heart of high school football right here in East Tennessee. Powered by Triple F Training. Train like a pro. Each week, Jesse Smithey and the 5 Star Prep team takes you beyond the gridiron and into the stories that define Fall Friday nights in the hills of the Great Smoky Mountains. From the thrilling touchdowns to the hard-hitting tackles and the unsung heroes who make every game unforgettable, we've got it all covered. Join Jesse Smithey as he breaks down this week's biggest games, highlights the standout performances, and gives you the most comprehensive high school football coverage in East Tennessee. Now, catch us live on The Walkthrough, presented by Triple F Training.
When you shop at Elliott's, your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.